Hey Growing Zone kids, it's Pastor Jason, and we are on question 26 of the New City Catechism for Kids. And the question is, what else does Christ's death redeem? The answer, every part of fallen creation. Growing Zone kids, have you ever had a cold? I've had colds before. They are not fun. Just a runny nose and a cough and a headache, and sometimes your whole body aches. They're just not fun. And sometimes you just kind of go to bed and get some rest and get over it for a few days, right? You know what sometimes happens with colds though? Sometimes if a person has a cold and they live in a family, guess what? They're not the only person to have the cold. Sometimes they'll give it to your brother or their sister or mom or dad. Or sometimes the whole family will eventually get that cold. That's not fun. It would be much better if just one person who had the cold was sick, and then when they got better, it was just done with. But that's not really how it works. We have talked about sin a lot, haven't we? We've talked about how sin is not doing something that God tells us to do or doing something that he tells us not to do. And we've talked that the result of this is that we are separated from God, and we need someone to fix that separation. Now, we've also talked a lot about that Jesus is the one to fix this separation. He is our Redeemer, and so he fixes our relationship with God by taking our sin away. He took it upon himself when he died on the cross. And so if he takes our sin away, there's no more sin that separates us from God, right? That's good news. But there's something else about sin you should know. Just like if one person in a family has a cold, the whole family usually gets it. Sin doesn't just affect one person. It doesn't just affect people. In fact, sin affects the whole world. Every part of God's creation is affected by sin, not just people. Animals are affected by sin. Mountains are affected by sin. The grass, the clouds, your parents' car, everything is affected by sin. You see, when God made the world, he made it perfect. There was nothing wrong with it, and nothing ever went wrong. Nothing was broken. Nothing would break, because sin is what causes things to break and go wrong. But when Adam and Eve sinned, they introduced sin not to just themselves, but to the entire world. Adam and Eve broke the world. We can kind of think of it like that. That's why today we have stuff like tornadoes and earthquakes and volcanoes and sicknesses. Those things happen because sin has entered the world. The world is, in a sense, broken. So, if the whole world is broken and every part of God's creation is broken, then nothing is as perfect as it could be. Think of the best chocolate cake that you have ever eaten, and you dream of it, and you would just love another slice right now. Even that chocolate cake is not as tasty as it could be if there was no sin in this world. And think of those vegetables that you don't like. They're healthy for you, but you don't like them. Do you know why you don't like them? That's right, sin. If there was no sin in this world, I guarantee you that those vegetables that you don't like would be even tastier than the best chocolate cake that you do like. So I know sometimes we think of sin as only something that we do and that affects us. But again, I want to remind you that sin affects the whole world. All of creation is affected by sin. Well, today's question teaches us that just as Jesus deals with the sin in our lives, our personal sin, and our separation from God that is caused by sin, just like Jesus deals with that and fixes that, the good news is that Jesus fixes the brokenness of this world that's caused by our sin as well. That's right, Jesus fixes every part of fallen creation. But he's not going to fix it yet. Probably not today. Now, we may have to wait for this for a long time, and I know waiting is hard. Have you ever had to wait for your birthday? If your birthday is like a month away, that's just the hardest thing to wait for, isn't it? You got to wait for the presents and the cake and maybe your friends coming over. It's so hard to wait, but when you finally get there, the wait is worth it. And so, God's people, Christians, those who believe in Jesus, we're waiting for the day where Jesus is going to fix every part of fallen creation. And you know how he's going to do it? He's not going to take this old world that's broken and try to tape it up or glue it together. That's not what he's going to do. He is going to build a brand new one. And the best part about this brand new world that Jesus is going to make is that there is not going to be sin anywhere. And that's how Jesus fixes all of fallen creation. He makes a brand new one, and it's all going to be without sin. That new world is going to be without the sin that separates us from God, and it's going to be without the sin that breaks the world. So guess what? There's going to be no more earthquakes that are volcanoes or tornadoes that hurt people, or no more sickness. It's all going to be fixed, made new by Jesus. So if you believe in Jesus, and I hope you do, if you trust that he has taken all of your sins away, then you have the hope that you will get to live with him one day in the new creation, the world without sin. We're going to get to live the way that God intended us for us to live, in a world without sin and with him. And I bet if there are vegetables in that new world, they are going to taste delicious. Now that's good news.